It's Friday.
Mm-hmm.
What up, Paul?
I know. Hi.
Paul's out of town. Good morning, Dennis and Bethany. So Hillary's gonna hop in with me.
I had just enough time to grab a cup of coffee.
I know, right? Well, what you can get by on Jesus. Well, Jesus is really all you need. Coffee is just nice to have.
Yeah.
So, Paul's out of town. I think he'll be back next week. I don't know. Uh, if he had told me that getting a promotion would have meant he wasn't going to be here as much, I might have prayed a little differently. Looks like a Monday. Yeah, but it doesn't feel like a Monday.
It doesn't feel like a Monday.
It's a Friday. When I'm done from here, I'm going to go get Hope.
Yep.
So you guys need to start praying because the two of these are going to be together for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
2.5, yeah, this summer.
Trouble.
They're both going to youth camp with me. So,
although all of the girls are super excited.
Yeah.
The ones that I've talked to.
Yeah.
There might be a couple that won't be, but that's okay.
But that'll be nice for you guys to kind of have backup,
Yeah.
Get each other.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. We'll take our time coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Just hope, Dad, don't be surprised how much I'm bringing home. She has one more semester, so that one's going to be the hard one.
But I hope she's probably bringing back the essentials,
Right.
Like her own coffee maker, her own espresso pot.
I don't know if she's bringing that home. So, as is typical, we should have just brought the rest of the stuff home. She has a storage shed that she pays for every month.
Yeah.
We haven't been in there almost in a year. So
that was, I think, the hardest thing. Like when I graduated college,
it
was like
all your stuff.
Yeah, all the stuff, and then like to a certain point, you're all like, well, I don't really use it. I don't. Do I really need it?
Right.
So when we cleaned our stuff out, like I had NMSU food containers that had their label because that's what you used in the dining hall. They wouldn't let you bring anything else. So
yeah, so she'll be coming home for the summer. We'll give her a little bit of a break before we start dumping all the work on her.
I like that.
Uncluttered. Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm not looking. I'm guessing that we'll get rid of a bunch of her stuff before she comes back. And who knows by then? I mean, she might have a job and be somewhere else, or because I'm thinking the prospect of her graduating and just staying home isn't real appealing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Paul normally jumps in and gives us all the answers to the hard questions. So are you ready?
I'm gonna try.
Are you ready for this? So Dennis helped us uncluttered.
This is our cheat sheet. Is there a cheat sheet on the YouVersion app?
I do. I always go back to my notes.
Okay. Well,
You're gonna go there too?
I'm gonna pull it up.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if I didn't save it because I was in the nursery.
You can still save it.
Okay.
Technically, the event's still happening.
Okay.
You can't save it before the event happens. Yours didn't come up first.
It does when you're alive. Find my church.
That's pretty sad. Well, mine comes up. And so, who all do we have? Dennis and Bethany.
There it is.
You guys are the big group this morning.
Ooh.
Did people get notifications?
I don't know.
I don't anymore because I don't go
Facebook
on there.
Facebook just does weird things.
Yeah, they keep changing.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
It's right there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Big crowd. So thank you guys for hopping on this morning. So you guys get to answer all the hard questions. So here's the deal. I'll give you the skinny. That goes back a little bit.
That's weird. Let's not say that.
Here's the skinny.
No.
You never heard that?
No, that's weird. I don't think I like that phrase.
But it's not weird for Hope and Hillary to get together and spill the tea.
That sounds a lot better.
So here's the deal.
I like that.
that we tend to. There's a couple of things that tends to happen. One is we might get frustrated. Well, okay,
Back up a little
I don't
bit.
know which to say it. Oh, good, ruidoso, noisy, yeah, but they. Well, this is fun. So, little squirrel, a rabbit. When I first came, Jose, my light went out.
Yeah.
When I first came, my secretary here, I guess thinking, I'm from Texas, I don't know Spanish. She didn't know I had 5.5 years. Oh, Bethany has an alarm so she can hop on, and Jim's coming on, so they're getting in here. Might have lost Dennis, I don't know. So, anyways, the secretary when I first came told me that ruidoso means noisy river, and I said no, it means noisy. She goes, no, it means noisy river. And I said, no, ruido means noise, ruidoso means noisy, and rio ruidoso means noisy river. So river noisy,
Yeah.
they say. She argued and argued with me. So it's noisy because it's really noisy river. And if you go down close to the river, it's noisy.
Yeah.
Um, I guess it is this time of year. So that's why it's noisy. Oh, Alexis! Did you meet Alexis when she came?
I think so.
She's coming back in August.
Oh, cool.
We're announcing her plans to everyone because she
Yeah.
did. Good morning, Alexis. It'll be good to see you in August when it's nice and chilly. Don't forget to bring a jacket.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so we're talking about the two things. So to unclutter, once we create some breathing room in our lives, we have a couple of tendencies. So one is to start filling it back up. It'll be here before you know it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna blink and it's already be January.
I know. Hey, not that fast. So a couple of things things tend to kind of clutter back up. And for some people, it may even be if you can kind of unclutter and you create breathing room, you're like, oh, someone, maybe it's I'll pick on Clock because Jim's doing Clock right now. Clock is the Clockcroft Light Opera Company, the melodramas. Hey, can you be in a melodrama? And you're like, I can. I have some free nights. And so we tend to schedule stuff back in there.
Right.
I have room now. I can do those kind of things. The other one is that we might get frustrated and just kind of give up, because if you're like me, and this happens, I'm physically with clutter, this happens to me a lot. You clean it up and then you're like, where did that stuff come from? So things tend to kind of, so let's say you create breathing room in your life. You have, a couple of nights a week at home. You've got, at least one Saturday a month where you don't have anything going on. And so you have some breathing room. And then before you know it, you're like, all of a sudden everything is full again. That's the way it feels.
Yeah.
And so the other reaction is you might get frustrated and say, it's kind of like I relate, everything relates to a physical thing for me. So it's kind of like I saw a meme that said that the 3 minutes that they had the laundry done was the most peaceful 3 minutes of the week. So you do the dishes and there's more dishes. You do the laundry, there's more laundry. You clean the house. Our kids are grown, and I still feel like we have toddlers because the dogs. You put all their toys away, vacuum, and you walk in the other room and come back, and all the toys are back out all over the living room. And so it happens that way just with our schedules too. All of a sudden, and it seems quick to us, but it's probably more of a gradual kind of thing. Our lives are cluttered again, and so we tend to. So the second reaction was tend to just give up. So you know what? So one of the things that I said was, think of it, I got this from a conference years ago. Think of it as attention to be managed rather than a problem to be solved, and that'll help. So once you unclutter, once you create some breathing room, it doesn't stay. You have to work at it. You have
right. Like I get asked all the time, so like, what nights do you have free? And I've started saying, well, it's not like they're free, but it's just I don't have anything going on.
Yeah, and for us, it's church stuff usually.
Yeah, but that way, if I'm not thinking of it like I have a
Oh,
free
but it's not free.
night, yes, but it's not free.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that nothing is planned,
Uh-huh.
like, outside the house, but it's not free.
So that's actually the mindset that we're going to have if we want to keep the breathing room in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I said this, I wished I'd thought to say it in church on Sunday, but I didn't. 80% full is full.
Yeah.
Maybe we ought to shoot for 70%, but 80% full is full, so that if you have 2 nights, it's a little bit more than 80%.
Yeah.
Because 7 nights in a week. If you have 2 nights that are free, then they're really full. Then your week
Right.
is full.
Right.
And if someone says, "So, do you have any free nights this week?" Oh, I'm sorry, I don't. And if they look at your calendar, they might go, "You liar! You have Monday night and Friday night free. What are you talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
No, I keep those open to have some breathing room.
Right.
That's full.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing to do it, and that's really kind of what I wanted to dig into today. Is so how do we do that? How do we? We can talk, we can say stuff like that. 80% full is full, and once you create breathing room in your life, resist the urge to fill the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we do that? So let me ask you guys, what are some things that we can do? Whether it's things we put in place. Maybe like Bethany has an alarm on her phone so she doesn't miss Java and Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some practical things we can do to make sure that we don't fill the gaps back up? So I'm going to ask you guys, give me some ideas on how we can do that.
I think for me, it goes back to one of I think it was like your first or second sermon of Uncluttered, is like finding like your priorities. And our community group did an Andy Stanley study about like time management.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's like, what are my priorities? And then what are kind of like secondary? Because if I fill my time with what my priorities are versus like, other stuff as well on top of everything.
So start with the things that you have to do. And
Mm-hmm.
I said God, family, church, and we know we have to throw work in there for some.
Yeah.
So Dennis has a good idea. So go ahead, and that's cool. So block that time off on your calendar as if you had an appointment.
Right. Like I even went through on my calendar and looked at the Saturdays in between like camps and been all like, okay, that's blocked off. Like I'm not gonna do anything.
Okay, that's a good point. So block time off on your calendar. I don't have to make stuff up because true life is just as interesting as anything I can make up.
Mm-hmm.
So this was way back. It might have even been in February. There's a guy in our class or our church that was planning a concealed carry class.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Hey, I'd love for you to come. We'll work with you on the shooting range and stuff like that," which has always been my hardest thing because they do that on Sundays.
Yeah.
And so he said, "Just let me know a Saturday you have free." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna have to get in the office and take a look." I am not kidding. So I looked, and March, April, May.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Java and Jesus on his work calendar. March, April, and May, I could not find a free.
Right.
And now we finally got to May the 6th, which is just last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have like an event. And it was so hard for me to say, but I still can't do the class.
Yeah.
Because I haven't had a free Saturday in 3 months and I have some stuff at home that I need to do.
Right.
You know what I
And I
mean?
think that too, like if you fill your time up with like a lot of stuff, then you neglect a lot of things too.
And that, yeah, that, so that's the reason that we need to keep that in there. Because man, if you max out everything, first of all, you're going to start dropping some stuff, and things are going to suffer. We can't. God didn't create us to fill our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the world says to do that.
Right.
I want to live life to its fullest. Okay, so I understand that on one level, but if you pack your life so full of stuff, then you can't enjoy the things you're doing. And I
Right.
see people like that, man, they're all over the place.
And it's
And
really easy to do. I mean, like, oh hey, let's go grab like some dinner on Friday, or there's, I don't know, I'll throw mine. There's a monster truck rally on Saturday. Let's go do that. That's a
sounded like a good
true.
idea 4 months ago,
Yeah, it
huh?
did. It really did. And
Until
then
you have something every Saturday, and then
yeah.
you're like, oh.
And then it's like, oh man, like I already bought the tickets, like we're
Mhm.
already going. Like
But and that yeah. So I like marking that time off on your calendar, and that's a good way of actually putting into practice the 80% full is full.
right.
So you actually block those times out. I did something. This is funny. There's a guy, Kerry Newhoff, who's a big leadership kind of guy, and so he was talking about time management and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and so he had a downloadable kind of calendar
Mm-hmm.
that gave you a template to kind of start with, and he's looking at it as in what are your most productive times.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got your green zone, your yellow zone, and your red zone. I'm a morning person, so my green zone is before noon.
Mm-hmm.
My yellow zone is from like 1 to 3. My red zone kind of goes after that. After 8 o'clock at night, I used to tell Hope, I can't. She goes, can you edit my paper for me? Sure, but you got to get it to me by 7 because after 8, man, I'm crashing. So
Yeah.
so later in the day, I can do physical things, but I try not to do any heavy mental stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so, but what it did was it put those all on my calendar. Well, it did it on my Apple calendar,
Mm-hmm.
my iCalendar. I don't know if you guys know this kind of thing. So you can share calendars with families.
Right.
Hope had to take me off of her calendar because it kept telling her, okay, now it's the yellow zone. Because it would send reminders. But that's a good way to do it. So block it off
Mm-hmm.
on your calendars and treat it as if it were an event. Here's what kind of happens. You're talking about Saturdays is so I have something going on Saturday morning, and then I have something Saturday afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
and then someone says, hey, can we do dinner Saturday night? And you guys, I hope you know, I love fellowship, man. I love hanging out, and I
Yeah.
hate to miss it. Can you do dinner Saturday night? And if I have nothing open, so let's say my last thing ends at 3, it's tempting to say, sure.
Right. Because you don't have it's free.
Right.
You don't have anything
But
planned.
but do I really want to? And the answer is no, because for me, Saturdays I try to keep light because
Right.
Sunday's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do I really want to go from 7 o'clock in the morning Saturday until 7:30 or 8 Saturday night?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no. If I go from 7 in the morning to Saturday till 3 on Saturday, that's still
That's
a
a
full
lot.
work day. I mean, that's 8 hours.
Yeah.
That that's right. So Jose's got it. And God didn't create us so that we can do everything.
Right.
So we need to prioritize, get our priorities right, put those things on the calendar that you have to do, and leave room. That this sounds so weird, doesn't it? So if we said keep 2 nights a week open, so that you can just go home,
Mm-hmm.
just be home, with your family. Uh, until Hope gets home, that's me and Mom and the dogs and
Mm-hmm.
cats. But just keep that open. That just seems so weird, doesn't it?
Right. And I think what's weird too is like if you're doing stuff during the week. So like if you, like for instance, like kids club and youth.
Mm-hmm.
So we've just officially ended youth this
Mm-hmm.
week. So it's tempting to go, oh, well, now I have Wednesdays open.
No, we don't. We have a fundraiser
Yeah, I
Wednesday
know,
night.
but it's tempting, like when you get done with something, or like if you've been doing something for so long, then you're like, oh, well, I don't have that
Mhm.
anymore, so now that day is free.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
So here's a cool thing too. So I'm thinking back at the calendars too. So blocking that off. There's to make this distinction in our minds. The difference between open and available.
that's a good one.
So I can keep a couple of nights open,
But that doesn't mean they're available.
but they're not available. And it goes back to what Dennis is saying: is block those out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I can. In on most calendar, and some of you guys like in the workplace maybe did this a whole lot. Of Dennis probably had to. We've never gotten that well integrated,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can put stuff on my calendar, because I know I'm just really getting big into the Apple world with the Mac, but with the Microsoft Outlook, that people still use that Microsoft Outlook calendar, you can actually put in, and I know Paul does this too with DoD, and Dennis was a contractor for them, but um, you can put in there the time, leave the times you're available, and then that lets people schedule appointments if you leave it open as, or leave it as available.
Yeah.
So if we can make that distinction in our minds, no, that's open. Oh, so you can meet that night. I'm not available.
Right.
So make the distinction between open and available. We need to leave some things open. That doesn't mean we're available. You know, and it's hard. If my two nights, and they're usually not, it's usually more Saturday night. But if my two nights that I leave open are Monday and Friday, and someone comes to say to me, um, we just did a bowling fellowship Tuesday. That was fun.
Yeah.
I stunk at it. My excuse is my back was hurting.
Mm-hmm.
But I have some really cool bowling shoes. So anyhow, if my two nights that I leave open are Monday and Friday, and someone says, "Hey, you want to go bowling Friday night?" It's hard for me.
Yeah.
To say no.
Yeah.
It's hard to say no. It's something I want to do.
Right.
It's something I like to do, and I love hanging out with people. But to say, because we're treating it like it's an appointment, or
right, it's open, but it's not available.
So think about my sleep. I don't have to think about my sleep. No, I know what you mean. Schedule in. Now that's something. I mean, I usually am in bed by 10, sometimes 9, and get up at 5. So even 10 to 5 is 7 hours. So I usually get at least 7 hours. That for me, because I'm not a night person, that's not a big deal for me.
Yeah.
Staying awake till 10 is a big deal. We stayed awake till 10 like 2 nights in a row.
Well, you better train yourself for camp.
Well, camp's a whole different animal.
That's one of my struggles. By like 9, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for everyone to go to bed.
We did do something for children's camp. We had a camp meeting on Zoom Wednesday, and we did have on the schedule lights out for the kids. This is the 3rd through 6th graders. Lights out at 10:30, and we decided to make that 10. And that was kind of weird for me, because I'm like, okay, they said, is that doable? It was a discussion with the camp planning team. Is that doable? And I said, well, so when's the last thing end? I mean, that's going to determine everything for me. So the last thing ends at 9:30. I said, yeah, I mean, as long as you have 30 minutes, I'm thinking of little stinky boys.
Yeah, all showers.
Yeah, you're taking a shower, buddy. Because even from the other end of the dorm, I can smell you. So 30 minutes, as long as we have 30 minutes to get the kids ready for bed. I know girls a little bit harder because to do hair and stuff, but
yeah, we put them on a rotation schedule.
All right. So and I'm like, if last year, so Michael, the guy that you went to school with,
Mhm.
I was in there with a really cool guy, just our two churches in our little dorm, our cabin. And I'm like, if the way it worked for us is I'd look over at Michael, he'd look over at me. We're like, okay, guys, lights out in 5 minutes, but it says on the schedule 10:30. I don't care.
Yeah.
Lights out in 5, we would do that anyhow. So I
Yeah.
don't know how we got that. Oh, sleep. So
Sleep.
yeah. Um, so that's another thing, Jose. When we're determining priorities,
Mhm.
to remember this life is not what it's about.
Right.
That's hard to remember, isn't it?
It is hard to remember.
But this life, I mean, now I Jesus says, "I came that you might have life and have it abundantly." That begins here. That's
Right.
that's not like all of it though. But this life isn't all there is.
Mhm.
In fact, I would say, might have some people argue with me or disagree, I guess, about it. I would say this life is simply preparation for the next.
Mhm.
So everything when we do in this life, we ought to be preparing for the next. And so the best way to do that is with eternity in mind.
Mhm.
Um, Now, don't get me wrong. I noticed when I keep wanting to call him Spock.
He's not
When I
smart.
took Woody, our dog, out for a walk this morning, we're coming back in. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to get my new weed eater back out and weed eat. So you have to weed eat. That doesn't have any eternal effects.
Yeah.
Um, I've got to stack the wood. That doesn't have any eternal effects. I mean, there's some things that we do that are temporal. We have to. But if we make priority from the temporal, if we make the eternal things the priority, then I think we have a whole lot better use of our time.
Mhm.
Ryan Frank, who's a kids ministry guy, wrote a book called "Eat the Frog First."
Mhm.
do And his idea was do the thing you really don't want to do first, and then the rest of the day's easy. But we can make that in a priority kind of sense. Pick your three biggest priorities
Right.
and spend 80% of your time on the three biggest priorities,
Mhm.
and you get more done.
Mhm.
So make sure that we're doing the right things, instead of just filling up. So yeah, it's about time, isn't it?
Yep.
Thank you guys for hanging in. For the ones that did, some of them, I know people have to work and stuff. That's weird,
Yeah.
huh? But let me encourage you. Once you create that breathing room, to stay at it, to learn to, boy, this sounds weird. We're in Cloudcroft, so we're supposed to be 9,000 feet above stress level.
It's more
Sometimes
stressful.
it gets up here, but learn to live at a slower pace.
Mhm. It's hard.
So that means for some, we have to learn to live with less. That means we have less. This is Brother Lawrence.
Mhm.
Have less, do less, and say no. Be sure you're saying no to the right things, though.
Right.
So you want to be sure you're doing the things that are the most important things, um, and just leave that time.
Mhm.
So I'm going to remember that for me. Make a distinction between open and available.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So yeah. There are 2 nights this week I have open, but I'm not available.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's a good one.
Cool. Yeah. 80% full is full.
Mhm.
Distinguish between open and available.
Yep.
All right. Eat the frog first. No, wait, that's a whole different thing.
Mm.
let me pray for you guys and send you off into your weekend. Lord, thank you for your love. Thank you for the way that you take care of us, and God, you give us so many blessings. Help us not to get so busy and cluttered in our life that we miss those. Lord, help us to create the breathing room in our lives, and then to keep it open, and to just make that part of our lives, is that we constantly work to keep that breathing room, and not to fill in the gaps, Lord, when we have them. God, and as we do that, would you work in our lives? Would you use us in ways that bring you honor and glory? And God, would you use us to bring people to faith in Christ? Lord, we ask that you would do that in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks for hopping in. By the way, we started a new series
Mhm.
on Sunday called Family. I tried to find some real creative kind of things. Fish and family. There's one of them that kind of talks about that, but so we're gonna do a series starting on Mother's Day and ending on Father's Day on family. So be sure and hop into that. It'll be a whole lot of fun. It might not be what you think it is.
Is that foreshadowing?
That's what my tagline ought to be. Family might not be what you think it is. No.
I don't think that's a good tagline.
Anyways, thanks for hopping in, guys. Love you, and hope to see you on Sunday and again next week. Let me find my little code. It's a different computer, so
Yeah,
I gotta find things different ways. Love you guys.